So I thought it would be great to do a video on Afterburner, the most minimal, hypnotic, joyous cascade into oblivion, because all you're doing is flying into this endless sky whilst bombing and shooting enemy planes in the sky and tanks on the ground. Because let's face it, that's what we'd all be doing if we had our own way. One really nice thing about the game is that it's actually weirdly more passive than it is active in a way, because the main aim is to survive all 18 levels by dodging missiles or not crashing as you fly through the scenery, all to this incredible 80s action movie soundtrack. It was first published by Sega in 1987, and it was intended as Sega's first true blockbuster video game. Come on guys, they totally knew it was going to pop during the whole development of the project. It was actually kept a really closely guarded secret throughout the entire development. When it was released, it was Sega's first blockbuster game, and it was the highest grossing arcade game of 1987. It was in America's top 5 highest grossing games of 1988. The game was heavily inspired by 1986 anime movie Laputa, Castle in the Sky, and the game was going to be similarly kind of sci-fi and fantasy. However, they turned to the more popular Top Gun at the time for inspiration because it had just a bigger audience worldwide, and you can actually massively see it in the gameplay. Call me controversial, but I'm not a massive fan of Top Gun. That film was for boys. People say it's the ultimate Christmas film. Not really sure how. Yu Suzuki, the lead developer, was told by Sega in no uncertain terms to make a game that surpasses previous profits, and they would give him anything he needed to make that happen. But Suzuki was like, I'll need £1 million, 5 prostitutes, and as much good cocaine as you can possibly find. It was famously developed by a group of developers known as Studio 128. So Studio 128 is the name of this group of devs who worked at Sega Japan, and Yu Suzuki, who was kind of like the lead developer, and a group of 5 to 10 other developers worked in this kind of secret building about a 5-minute walk away from Sega of Japan's offices. Much of the work done in the building was kept a complete secret from the rest of Sega Japan. Mystery. Allegedly, there was even an incident where the then Sega president Hayao Nakayama was blocked from entering, much to his dismay. Wow, even the big guys weren't allowed in. In order to get the game finished, Sega introduced FlexiTime, which was back then quite a novel concept. Many members of the development team actually worked on the project at night, with one of the developers recalling the story that he often worked till 3 or 4 in the morning, went to play pool in a bar, only to come back to the office at 7 a.m. to have a nap and continue working at 7 p.m. Unfortunately, there was so much wasted time during the project too, where Mashiko Kobayashi, also known as Match, worked at Studio 128 and naturally saved the work of the lead programmer, Yu Suzuki's work, at the end of every day. Suzuki, the lead programmer, would then come in and would continue programming early on in the morning and then would nap later on in the day. However, when Suzuki was napping later on in the day, Match would return to the studio and restore his progress that he'd saved at the beginning of the day. So he'd just basically save over all of Suzuki's work. And this actually went on for several days until the issue was discovered. These things happen, especially probably when you're very underslept. When it was in development, Suzuki toyed with the idea of having this fighter plane fighting against Soviet forces to appeal more to a Western audience at the time. Guess it was of its time. But this idea kind of went out the window because apparently using real-life landmarks such as the Kremlin would have taken up just too much of the game's memory. So he had to plump for like the kind of made-up scenery that you see in the game, which despite the graphics, the really simple graphics, is kind of epic in its own way. Suzuki apparently used travel magazines as references for this made-up scenery. How cute is that? I always kind of thought that the kind of flagship first level did have a bit of a kind of tropics holiday feel, but maybe that's just in my head. You play the pilot of an F-14 Tomcat fighter plane. The Grumman F-14 Tomcat is an American carrier-capable, supersonic, twin-engine, 2-seat, twin-tail, all-weather-capable, variable sweep-wing fighter aircraft. And it was developed in the United States Navy as a group of planes in a project known as the Teen Series. Why Teen Series? Because this series of planes were all given numbers in the teen range. And the main jets included the Grumman F-14 Tomcat, which is the one used in Afterburner, McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle, General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon, and McDonnell Douglas F-18 Hornet. The F-14 Grumman F-14 Tomcat is the plane flown in Top Gun. The funniest link about that I always remember is that in the seminal film Meet the Parents, starring Robert De Niro, Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson, the female actor Pam and Ben Stiller, Greg Fokker, are dating. In real life they're actually engaged, and Pam's ex-boyfriend is Owen Wilson, and Greg, Ben Stiller, just kind of has to watch while Pam and her ex like exchange these cutesy nicknames that her and her ex used to call each other that are all based on their shared love of the film Top Gun while they were still together. Nice shot, Maverick. Sweet setup, Iceman. And like later on in the evening, Greg's like, I don't know what got into me, Iceman. And Pam's like, Iceman? And Greg's like, sorry, is it special for you two? No, Greg, stop it. Stop what, Iceman? Top Gun was a very popular movie when we dated. That's it. Hey, Iceman, I have no problem with that. Do you want to be Maverick? Is that what this is about? I can't be. Kevin's Maverick. And then later, Kevin, Owen Wilson, says to Greg, ooh, she's a real Tomcat. At the beginning, the Tomcat actually launches from an aircraft carrier called the Sega Enterprise. The game was 18 stages long, and the one over the sea is probably the most iconic. So simple and so exciting, and all set to this amazing 80s action style music. Afterburner, you're just careering into the horizon, locking onto targets, bam, 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 bam. It was wild. Hang on a minute, Afterburner was a studio album released by ZZ Top in 1985, featuring hit singles such as Sleeping Bag. Obviously the title of the album bears the same name as the game. That's 1985, but Afterburner obviously came out in 1987. So what came first, the chicken or the ZZ Top egg? Well, the ZZ Top egg, surely. It was 2 years earlier. Although no mention anywhere of Afterburner the game, released 2 years later, crediting ZZ Top's album as its namesake. But if someone can verify this, let me know. And definitely the soundtrack of the game is very similar to that album in style and character. Slip inside my sleeping bag. Oh god, my dad loved stuff like that. So actually, in terms of the soundtrack, the guy Hiroshi Kawaguchi was the guy behind this. Hiroshi Kawaguchi is a Japanese video game music composer and keyboardist that works for Sega. He is among the oldest of the Sega team members, and actually one of the few from the 1980s that is still alive today. He was initially a programmer at Sega in 1984 before transferring to the sound department in 1985. So he famously did the music for Afterburner, Sonic, Sega Rally and Tetris Giant. So yeah, some really, really good music soundtracks, you know. So yeah, Kawaguchi made the sound, and what he actually did was he went out and bought a guitar, writing almost 100 different pieces for the game and playing the riffs for Suzuki, the lead programmer. And there was definitely a load of that kind of really strong sort of, you know, stadium cock rock, if you want to call it. Slip inside my sleeping bag at the time, which definitely seems to have influenced the music of the game massively. Kawaguchi also did the epic sound effects, where apparently he poured over dozens of hours of war videos, which is kind of cool, obviously giving it that kind of authenticity. So there you have it, Afterburner, a bit of an 80s throwback, but oh my god, what an absolute classic. Definitely worth a go. I'm sure it still plays as well today as it ever did. Remember it being quite difficult, actually, quite a difficult game. Yeah, give it a go. I hope you enjoyed. See you very, very soon.